Hey everyone, I'm Sebastian at Pronator Sports Care. I'm going to cover pronator teres problems today in pictures, and I'm going to show you an exercise we can do to isometrically load that tissue, which helps out a lot of times with pain management. But also too, I want to help you find a mobility exercise that works better for it as well. Just so you know, like just a reference point, this is the inner part of the elbow here, and the pronator teres comes off. You'll know it's there because you'll see a little divot inside this tissue right here, or the forearm, and then right off of that is going to be the pronator teres. It's running like at a diagonal fashion. It goes from this portion of the elbow over to the radius, and it actually makes this happen. All right? So it's really common for people to have this problem when the tissue has been deconditioned or they don't have proper mobility in the actual elbow. So the first thing you should probably do is expose the elbow to a certain type of range that it actually favors. The joints actually like a lot of movement, but if it hurts to do certain movements, you don't want to do the movement, all right? For a lot of people with this condition, bending this direction actually bothers them, and going like this bothers them too. So things like bicep curls would probably bother them. What doesn't tend to bother them is what we call an extension pattern. And so we're going to go here and just drop the elbow down just like you're going to drop like some salt, like Salt Bay would, like that. All right? If you go real slow, on the first few reps, you're going to notice that it's, I really can't tell, and it's getting a little better. And then you start to go real slowly with it and get up to about 20, 30, 40, 50 reps even. All right? Most people, what they find is over the course of time of doing this, the area of their problem decreases in circumference significantly and becomes a little bit more pinpoint. After you get about 20, 30, 40 reps in, you're going to grab the tissue right into here, the skin actually, right around this area, and you're going to continue to do those pumping movements. Here at Performance Place, we see a lot of people with this problem, and usually around 60, 70, 80 reps, essentially with a little bit of skin pull action, usually a lot of their symptoms dissipate. And then it's a lot more safe to load the tissue. Because if you do it prior to that, a lot of times people just have a lot of pain and tenderness associated with it. Now, when we're loading the tissue or the pronator teres, the easiest thing to do is find a weight that actually has like an end-loaded thing, like a hammer, a mallet, even a baseball bat works really well. So you can hold it, make sure the elbow is bent, in fact, and we're going to drift this over to the supinated position here. And then we're just going to stay, all right? This isn't super heavy for me. This is an 8-pound weight, and I'm grabbing one end of it. I can definitely go higher with it. Overall, we want to be able to hold this position for about 30 to 45 seconds, and it should be to the point where it starts to become not painful, but effortful, and a little bit of shake is happening. It's like if you're holding a bowl of soup, it's going to be hard to hold the bowl of soup because it's just that hard. After that, you take a little break. It's a recommended about 1 to 2 minute break, and then you go back into it again. Finding a position that's challenging but doable. At the distance of the weight, by the way, I can change how hard it is by going distances on the weight. If it was way out here, it'd be a lot harder. And then you hold it. Again, keeping pressure, elbow on knee, and just hanging out for, 30 to 40 seconds. Okay? So this isometrically loads the muscle and the tendon interface, and it helps out a lot with recovering the tendon. Now, a lot of people have been told they may have had tendinopathy or tendinitis, tendinosis in the elbow right into here. It's important to realize that as you go through the process of recovering from an elbow problem as a pitcher, that you make sure that you don't think that your elbow is completely broken and it won't be the same again. Tendinitis, tendinopathy, tendinosis, generally speaking, load is king. You rehab it with doing some load, but you do have to scale back a little bit on the things that provoked it in the first place. If throwing pitches bothers it, scale back on your pitches for a little bit, add a little bit of TLC in the form of loading after mobility, and then see what happens. For a lot of people, the symptom tends to decrease pretty quickly. Things that you need to consider though is that if it is a tendinopathy, you have a healthy tendon. There's healthy tendon within there. If this is the tendon circumference, you actually have islands. You'll have islands like the 8. There's dead zones in there. You won't get those dead zones back. That's okay, all right? The remainder of the tendon is healthy enough to do all the workload that you need to do to pitch. And as you start to develop the tendon with your loading, then it actually becomes more diameter of healthy tendon, and that's all you're going to need. You don't need to do things like remedies to remedy those dead spots, the dead islands, because they're not really going to improve. We found that with pitchers, throwers, that most of the velocity for a baseball pitch comes from the pelvis and down, okay? So your lower body mechanics are important. You need to be talking to your pitching coach about if you're doing things well, but also too, you need to consider, do you have any lower extremity problems? We a lot of times see at Performance Place that people who come in with this elbow problem end up, you have them do something like simple like a squat test, and they start doing stuff like this. You know, I had this one guy, he came in, he had this, he was a catcher, and he squatted down like this, and I said, what's up? What's going on here? And we saw this big old gash here. He got cleated years and years ago, and he never really fully recovered and rehabbed that knee and that limb. It didn't hurt anymore, but it sacrificed his power in his lower half, and it made his upper body try to compensate. And so if you're dealing with something like this and you have a lower extremity problem or a past one, it needs to be addressed. Okay, if you guys want help, we have virtual and in-person services. We're in Costa Mesa, California. We have other videos just like this on YouTube, but if you want something customized and you want to make sure that you're actually going to get back into your season before your season's over, reach out to us. We'd love to help you out. I love baseball. I've played baseball myself for a lot of years, and I would love to work with you for something like this. See you guys next time. Subscribe to the channel. Take care.